Hey everyone, I'm Tom, and welcome to the Orange Chronicles, where I chronicle what I have been up to over the past week or so. And let's go ahead and jump right into with what I have been reading. And the first book up that we're going to talk about is Discovery: Strange Eons Book 1 by J.A.J. Minton, also known as Talking Story here on BookTube. They did send me an early copy of this book, and I did buy this nice signed copy from them on their website, which you can also go and do. This book comes out on May 15th. Like I said, got it early. And there's just a few things that I want to throw out there because anytime booktuber talks about another booktuber book, the comments can always be a little strange. And I just want to say, if I don't like this book, I will be honest and tell everybody that I didn't like it. Talking Story is not pressuring me or asking for a good review by sending me early copies. I'm not going to just say it's good because we're both booktubers, nothing like that. I really enjoy Talking Story. Their channel's great. They're awesome people over there, super friendly, super nice, all of that. But I've been accused of it in the past that the only reason I'm saying nice things about booktuber's book is because we're all booktubers and there's some great booktube cabal, behind the scenes trying to pump people up and everything. And so I just want to say that I will be completely honest with how I feel about this book. And so that being said, I right now am at 50% of the way through this book. I would like to finish it before the official release date and have a full video out on it. But if that doesn't happen, I do want to give my thoughts on the first half of this book so far. And this book is kind of broken up into acts, and so that's kind of how I'm going to talk about it. I think the first act of this book is some of my favorite things I have read in the past couple of months. I was thoroughly intrigued, hook, line, sinker, was super invested, super interested in this story, and I think it was very well done, and I just was like all in on it. Then Acts 2 and 3 happened, and they have both been good. There's nothing about this that has been bad, but Acts 2 and 3 were just such a curveball, just such a different expectation that I thought we were going to get from my expectations, that I don't know how to feel about them entirely. And I feel like the second half of this book has a lot to deliver on to justify all of the work and effort that is put into those next two chunks of the story, right? The first chunk of the story is kind of the cosmic horror pitch that I have heard about this book. I have stayed away from listening to most of the discourse or discussion around this book because I wanted to go into it pretty fresh with no polluted ideas of it. I've really just heard good things about it, and that's about it. And so I was all in on that first act. That with the next two just being so monumentally different, I can't say I struggled with them, but I also can't say that I wasn't like wishing we went back to a little bit more of what was happening in Act One. That being said, it's unfair to judge those two harshly with having 50% of the book left. I will also say, though, a lot of goodwill was built up from Act 1 that gives me faith that the second half of this book is going to deliver on a lot of the things that I want. I can't say that I'm like overly attached to any characters just yet, but I am attached to the larger story and the larger world that is going on, and that is actually something I wish we were maybe getting a little bit more of. We have kind of been isolated to a select few characters, and there's this monumental thing, this discovery that happens in Act 1 that I really would have liked to have seen wider reaching impacts from. And maybe that is some of the things we're going to get later. I will say my favorite character is one that kind of gets a lot of attention in the first act and is kind of sidelined in the next two, which has been a little bit disappointing for me personally. But the story is still building in a way that I'm very curious on what the second half of this story is going to deliver. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. So that is kind of my early thoughts on it. It has been good. I'm wanting more from the second half. That is like the first act of this book, if that makes sense. The way I'm talking about this probably isn't the most clear. But yeah, so far it has been good. If you are even interested in this, I would say, yeah, it's worth picking up and checking out so far, unless it completely drops the ball in the second half. That'll probably be my stance. My hope is that it continues to escalate and we get a little bit more of the Act 1 stuff going on, but we'll see, and I will definitely update you. I do plan on probably doing, like I said, a standalone video for this one, and I will obviously talk about it in my next weekly update as well. So yeah, that is Discovery by J.A.J. Minton. And the other book that I am reading, and I'm also about 50%, I think I'm at 52% for The Lonesome Crown by another booktuber, Brian Lee Durfee, and I have really been enjoying this one. I'm sad that I'm almost done with this trilogy. I don't want to say too much right now because so much still is left to happen in this. I will say, if I had to nitpick it, it's a lot of like, we're following characters chasing after each other after there's a lot of conveniences and stuff going on that, it is what it is, I guess. But overall, it's a world that I love. There's mystery and intrigue, characters I care about, all the things that I really want from a fantasy story have been here. And, once again, I have half of a book left for it to really deliver or fall apart. And that are really the two options. There is, you want to talk about a book needing to deliver on a lot of things. The Lonesome Crown has so much still left to deliver on that I'm glad that I have as much page count left as I do, because this is a massive book. This is a super, super long book. I'm very much looking forward to like being able to see what happens, because man, I feel like if I think I've heard rumors that this was supposed to be 5 books, and I can totally see how this series was supposed to be 5 books, because there's so much going on that I feel like we're kind of just having to like wrecking ball through to get them to the point where things need to be. So we'll see. Right now, I'm enjoying it. Still probably in running to be a top 10 series, fantasy series all time for me. So hopefully I can stick that landing as well. But that is all that I read over the past week or so. Really just kind of trying to focus on finishing both of these. And it's one of those things where I split my attention between both of them, and which made me not make as much progress on either of them, right? Because I was reading both at the same time. And so I would stop reading one to read the other. You know how it is when you read multiple books at a time. But definitely let me know what you read down below in the comments. Always like talking to you guys down there, or you can always hit me up on Discord in the Book Street Boys Discord, where I am one of, I think, 8 members in there. So there's a lot of us if you want to join and check us out there. Now let us quickly switch over to manga. And for the first time in probably 5 or 6 weeks, I actually can say that I read some manga. Not a whole lot, but it is progress. It is getting back on track of reading some series that I have neglected for a little while now. So 2 new chapters of Black Clover came out, and I cannot believe we waited so long to get the 2 chapters we got. Black Clover is a series that I feel like should have ended 50 chapters ago, and yet somehow we're still going, we're still getting delayed, and it's a series that has tested my patience, and it's like the epitome of like just not getting the story out in a timely manner. I don't know why we're taking these big breaks and everything. I don't know why we went from a weekly thing to it was months between these most recent chapters. I'm ready for it to be over. I'm ready for them to just finish the bad guy off and let's be done. There were some cool things that happened, some like big magic, awesome stuff that's going to look great in the anime, but I gave up watching that anime forever ago. So because I don't think it was super well done. So Black Clover is not going to go down as probably an all-time favorite, but it is one of the few shonen that I started when it came out, and I'm going to finish it when it finishes. And I've been along on that ride the whole time. So it has been interesting, and if you're a fan of it, I mean, let me know what you think. I also read a little bit of Dragon Ball Super, still very early on in that, I think 12 or 13 chapters in, so very early tournament arc stuff. There's just something about the vibe of this manga that just feels off compared to some of the other Dragon Ball stuff. And it makes sense, I know, but there's just something about it where, man, it just feels like something's missing just a little bit. And I can't really put my finger on it, but it is just how I feel. And it might just be being me, that might, if somebody else read it, they might think it's exactly the same. But to me, there are some very fundamental things about some characters that just feel off and different. And part of me almost wishes I'd never started reading it, because now I feel like I need to finish it. And that is, my own problem that maybe I need to just not do. But that is kind of how I feel. And then I also read a little bit of Frieren Beyond Journey's End, and that manga, every time I read a chapter of that, it just continues to be absolutely amazing. And it still has been. I figure it still will be the next time I read it. And it just is, like I say, every time I talk about it, it is just jumping up my list of all-time favorite manga, and I'm not even that far in. I think I'm like 15 chapters in, which is nothing. Like, right, it's crazy to say that, but there's just a feeling I get when I read it that not a lot of other stories give me. And so Frieren has been awesome. And then lastly, over the past week, I haven't watched too much. I'm almost done with Bands of Brothers. And so I need to figure out what I'm going to watch after that. Maybe Solo Leveling. Everyone keeps telling me how amazing Solo Leveling is. So that might be what I watch after I finish Band of Brothers. And just for me to nerd out a little bit, World's Strongest Man is this week. Unfortunately, we cannot watch it. There's not a live stream or anything. The only way you can watch World's Strongest Man is from following competitors and then posting or talking about how events went. There's a couple channels that will be there and talk about it, but nobody can show anything that's happening live. Or there is a website called Strongman Archive where you can basically, it's a spreadsheet and they update it as events finish and everything, right? So that is what I'm going to be doing on this week. I'm going to be paying so much attention to that. There's a lot. This is probably one of the best lineups that has ever happened at World's Strongest Man here in 2025. I think it helps that they cut it down to 25 guys, but the talent pool of open level top strongmen is just super deep right now. And so I'm just like really looking forward to spending way too much time watching that. And maybe one day I'll get to go watch it. I think they have one more year left on the East Coast that they have to come back to and do it again. So maybe I'll get a chance to go watch it in person at some point. But that has been my week. Like I said, Discovery's got a lot left to deliver on for me personally, and so does The Lonesome Crown. So I have two books that I really feel like need to deliver in the second half. Not that either of them has been bad. They've actually both been pretty good so far, but I feel like there's a lot left on the bone for both of these stories to tell. And I'm very much looking forward to figuring that out and seeing what we get from both of these. Once again, as always, let me know what you think down below in the comments. Come talk to me on the Discord. But that's all for me. And remember, read what you want when you want.